Salutări din București și bine ați venit pe încă ceva. Numele meu este Marius, iar pentru cei care nu știu acest canal, pe încă ceva sunt foarte multe chestii legate de entertainment. Azi avem o recenzie de seriale, cel mai recent serial pe care l-am văzut pe Netflix și vorba de nimic altceva decât primul sezon din One Piece. Așa că vă să în timpul. Haideți să începem.
I'm gonna find the One Piece. It's Gold Roger's treasure. He hid it somewhere in the Grand Line.
It's a myth.
Can't wait to see the look on your face when we find it. But isn't there something that you want? More than anything else in this world.
Așadar, One Piece, cea mai recentă adaptare a unui manga pentru live action. La sfârșitul recenziei veți avea și două interviuri cu Emma Sullivan, regizoarea episodelor 3 și 4, și cu Mark Jobst, care a făcut episodul 1 și 2. Și Mark este și producător general, executive producer pe serial. Și o să vedeți că o să vă placă ce spun ei. Dar mai întâi recenzia. Așadar, One Piece, un anime care a trecut de 1000 de episoade în momentul de față, un anime care este probabil unul dintre cele mai longevive, cred că de când eram eu tânăr, ca să zic așa, și it's still running. Un anime care are un followership foarte mare, mai ales în țările sud-americane și în țările asiatice și în vestul Europei, dar mai puțin la noi. Noi am fost mai Naruto-driven, ca să zic așa, și mai puțin One Piece-driven sau Luffy-driven. Ideea este că serialul ăsta vine pe urmele celui mai recent anime adaptat, din păcate Cowboy Bebop, de la care cu toți aveam așteptări gigantice, cei care suntem fani ai anime-urilor anilor 90, dar în realitate nu a ieșit trebuia. Nu neapărat dintr-o dorință de a schimba opera, ci mai degrabă dintr-o nepregătire, neașteptare, neștire a ceea ce se întâmplă de fapt în piață, pentru că fanii anime-urilor își doresc ceva de la aceste adaptări, creativii, cei care fac aceste adaptări, ei cred că trebuie să-și aducă un aport foarte, foarte mare și să schimbe tot felul de chestii din el. Ei bine, vestea bună este că One Piece este o adaptare foarte fidelă a mangaului și a serialului și a animeului. Asta și din cauza că desenatorul, omul ce în spatele creației, a fost 100% on board pe tot parcursul. El a fost cel care de foarte multe ori a dat insight-urile pentru ce trebuie să se întâmple, cum trebuie să se întâmple, a dat feedback pe scenariu, a dat feedback pe casting, a fost implicat 100% în tot procesul. Și atunci, serialul One Piece, cel pe care îl vedea pe Netflix, este de fapt o extensie a creației originale. Așa cum anime-ul este o extensie a manga-ului, la fel acum, în același univers, dacă vreți, sau într-un univers paralel, într-un string theory universe, avem și acest serial. Și aici urmează partea cea mai interesantă, aș spune eu, a serialului. Serialul este unapologetically anime. Și acum, pentru unii asta o să fie... What? Ce înseamnă asta? Înseamnă că dacă în Cowboy Bebop au încercat să stilizeze într-o realitate ceea ce vedeai, sau poate, de exemplu, în adaptarea animeului Bleach, care există la fel pe Netflix, se încearcă o adaptare totuși, știi, a unei realități, nu neapărat a manga-ului sau nu neapărat a anime-ului. Bine, data asta este o adaptare a anime-ului. Pentru că dacă, ce vă spuneam, în filmul Bleach, sabia lui Ichigo nu arată ca sabia lui Ichigo. E altă sabie. De ce? Sau gândit, nu merge. Ei bine, în filmul ăsta, personajul ăla cu nasul cu țep de rechin e personajul cu nas cu țep de rechin. That's it. Personajul ăla clown care arată ca un clown e personajul ăla clown care arată ca un clown. Luffy are un anumit tip de comportament în anime, Luffy are cam același comportament și în serial. Și foarte importantă chestia asta, pentru că, unul la mână, it doesn't bring identity politics into it, asta mi s-a părut foarte drăguț. Faptul că, în sfârșit, avem un serial unde nu mai vine nimeni cu preaching, there's no gay couple, știi? Adică, it just respects the manga. E foarte, foarte mult despre manga și despre anime, despre fani și despre acea lume. Acum, dacă e cea mai bună ca adaptare și dacă se putea face mai bine, o să aflăm poate la următoarea. Dar în momentul de față, la nivel de cea mai bună adaptare a unui anime în live action, am spune că e pe locul 2. După cum am mai spus de foarte multe ori, mi se pare că Rurouni Kenshin rămâne în continuare producția cea mai clean adaptată pentru live action, dar asta și din cauza că este lipsită de hyper superpowers and all that. Pe când, evident, pentru cine știe One Piece, e a lot of superpowers involved. Și o lume extrem de mare. O să vedeți foarte multe set piece-uri, o să vedeți totul construit, o să aveți și momente care o să spuneți I don't feel like this. Nu e totul perfect, pentru că, fără să vrei, din păcate, creierul nostru ne va spune că ar trebui să mă uit la o realitate, numai că ea este anime. Și atunci există puțin un disjoint acolo, există un coping mechanism al creierului vostru, care va trebui să accepte pentru primul episod mai ales, this is an anime world and I should look at it that way. Și ce e greu să faci treaba asta în primă fază. Dar partea bună este că actorul principal, Inaki Godoy, este cel care livrează, toți actorii livrează foarte bine și vă spun treaba asta, nu știu dacă livrează bine, toți actorii cred în personajul lor și toți actorii sunt invested in the story și se vede chestia asta în momentul în care o să vedeți serialul, dar Inaki Godoy, tipul, băiatul care joacă pe Luffy, pur și simplu, felul lui de a zâmbi, de a vorbi, de a interacționa și de a eye movement-ul, ca spune că e cel mai important lucru, este un point 100%. El e cel care îți livrează puntea dintre anime și live action. Înțeleg că unii s-ar putea să fie, dar nu, că eu vreau. Și aici o să vă rog să încercați să spuneți ce vreți. Cum credeți că ați putea adapta lumea aia în așa fel încât să rămâneți fideli operei și să fie și true to life. Și e foarte complicat. Foarte complicat. Dar în momentul în care, în schimb, vezi că s-a investit enorm de mult în set design, pentru că asta mi s-a părut genială chestia asta, o să o vedeți pur și simplu. E atât de puțin green screen și atât de mult build-up stuff. E incredibil. Au filmat în Africa de Sud, am stat de vorbă cu Emma și ne-am povestit și câteva chestii de acolo, dar overall, producția este top-notch, mai ales pentru un prim sezon, că și asta e o chestie foarte importantă. De-aia zic că pare că cineva la Netflix și-a învățat o lecție după Cowboy Bebop și au încercat să facă the best they can do. Și dacă iei brieful și brieful spune așa, adaptează manga-ul ăsta în cea mai bună formă pentru live action și începi să vezi ce poți să faci ca să îndeplinești brieful respectiv, o să vedeți că serialul ăsta a ieșit exact cum trebuie. M-am uitat toate episoadele foarte relaxed, ca să zic așa. Există un arc narrativ acolo, există 2 episoade, spune, care sunt puțin mai slabe, 6 și 7, da? Dar restul, they land. Ca să le spuneam și în timpul interviului și o să vedeți chestia asta. Există acest moment de campiness, știi? În care zici, it's so childlike, it's so childish, știi? Dar repet, dacă faci un pas în spate, înțelegi ce s-a întâmplat acolo, înțelegi de ce, de fapt, da? Și după aia dacă te întorci la actori și vezi pe ei că cât de on the job they are, it works out. Tipul care joacă pe Usopp nu mi s-a părut the best choice, dar în rest, cam toată lumea, they fucking deliver. They fucking deliver. Și aș spune că, ca să te bucuri de serialul ăsta, trebuie să vezi cel puțin un episod din One Piece, ca să înțelegi tipul de manga, de anime, de lume, stylization, dacă vrei, care sunt constantele acelei lumi, ca să poți să înțelegi de ce serialul e făcut în felul ăsta. Din punctul meu de vedere, lăsând deoparte McGuffin-urile și lack of sensitivities pe care lack of clarity pe care te aștepta poate la nu știu ce operă genială de Hitchcock, da? De character depth and all that. Adu-ți aminte că este o adaptare a unui anime și în momentul de față este cea mai bună, este pe locul 2. Știu sigur că o să fie lumea care o să spună că nu, domnule, că trebuia mai bine. You are invited to do better. Știi? Any given time. Evident că asta nu înseamnă că să vă uitați neapărat, dar dacă sunteți fani anime-ului, dați-i o șansă, eu zic că o să vă placă foarte, foarte mult. Mie a plăcut și o să mă uit cu drag la următorul sezon. Dacă toate lucrurile merg bine, o să fie un upscale de la ăsta și asta înseamnă doar și mai bine. Oricum, dragii mei, vă mulțumesc, urmează interviurile, așa că, without further ado, here are the interviews. Yes, let me press got it. So, Emma, how are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm fine. I actually stepped out of the office because I have the office upstairs, and I said, like, okay, I'm going to do these interviews and then get back into Excels because I like my Excels, you know? It's beautiful. Yes, I love them. No, I don't, but it's okay.
That's a broad range of likes.
Somebody has to do it, though, you know? You can't really...
But maybe one day somebody else can do it.
Exactly. So, Emma, let's start with this, actually, because I looked up your previous work. I tried to see your shorts, but I couldn't find them, sadly. But
My website. Yeah.
It was on your website. Because I went on IMDb. I went on you. You should put them on YouTube as well. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, the place. It's the place where people find videos. I'm just saying.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. So
A small thing.
I'm not gonna crack on.
Did you direct the first episode, by the way?
I directed the third and fourth episodes.
The third and fourth. Okay. Because that was one. I felt like the first The thing is with this, you'll see that the interview with me is me saying some things, and you'll say some things. It's more of a discussion between us two. It's like a small podcast. You know, I'm not going to ask you like, how do you find the actors? Well, the actors are nice. You know. the thing is like the cast is so diverse, not in the sense of diversity in quotas and stuff, but it's very diverse in the sense of acting range, the way they portray the characters.
Mhm.
And I was really curious who gave them the initial notes, because the first episode, I was expecting it to be not say weaker, you know, like the first episode, usually you can see it's the first episode because everybody's just trying to fit those shoes.
Yeah.
And instead I found that the first episode it started with the right foot, basically, you know.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to get that on set?
Well,
If
I would think, I mean, because I didn't, the first director is Mark, but I
Mhm.
would also think that it goes right back to casting. And I think they are uncannily like their characters in some way. If you meet like Kiki Iñaki, he's
Mhm.
he's so like Luffy in many ways. He's cleverer than Luffy,
Mhm.
but he is
Luffy is clever.
yes, but sometimes he can be quite silly as well. And Oda says that, so I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just as positive and sunny, and the same with Jacob. Jacob's got this massive heart, which Usopp has. Emily is on it; she's really sharp. So I think they all do have elements of their personalities that's like their characters. So maybe that's it. They all got on really well. There's a sense of maybe, I think also probably Mark gets people together beforehand. They're a long way from home in Cape Town, so you have to either get together and enjoy it and decide to enjoy it there. You're so
Makes
far
sense.
from home. Some people don't, kind of deal with being a long way from home as well as others, but this lot were really good. I think they really
Makes sense. I want to say that the Yaki, the main character, basically main actor, let's say,
Mhm.
he one of the fears that everybody has when it comes to anime adaptations, because we've seen others, you know, and everybody's like, you can't do anime, you can't do anime. And the thing is, he manages to sell the character so well. Like I was so in so many scenes where I thought like, this is going to get campy now. It's going to get like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And then just the fact that you have a close shot on his face, and he actually does the face. He does the face, you know, and he sells you that, okay, he's the guy, you know. And that's why I'm saying like that's why I'm curious, like how, because usually this is a very hard part to get all these people to actually manage to sell the characters. And as you said, it's probably the casting. It's probably in the casting process they actually went for this, try to find them, to
Yeah.
get the right people and have them delivered. But yeah, for me, the show was a complete pleasant surprise. Like I'm gonna say for you, basically for you and for all the others, because people think that maybe when we do these press junkets, like you have to compliment the show. No, you don't have to compliment the show, but the show, you can see the amount of passion as a fan. If you are a One Piece fan, you're gonna love this. But
Yeah.
not because you should love this because you're a fan. No, it's just because you can see the DNA, you know, basically.
And I
I
think a
felt.
lot of that comes down to Matt and Steve, the showrunners and writers.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's always got anime t-shirts on. His hair is different colors every day. He's usually another character.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
is absolutely a huge fan of them.
This is a
Of
question.
any manga. So that's really important.
This is a question. Is this the first time you got in contact with this world, basically? Not necessarily One Piece, the anime, otaku, all this Japanese subculture thing.
Well, my dad was really into Japanese culture. So
Okay.
I was brought up by somebody who made us watch Kurosawa. At
Okay.
a early age. We didn't know
Yukiro,
what.
you have to. You have to.
Yeah. So, and then I've always, and also my family are quite arty, so you have to
Mhm.
look at Japanese architecture and gardens and textiles.
Cool.
So I've always been looking that way. I
Mhm.
also love martial arts, and I've done a bit of martial arts myself.
Ah,
But then when I was
congratulations.
starting to get into film, I loved Takeshi Kitano, Sonatine and Hanabi, amazing films.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
then when my son was born, I brought him up on Studio Ghibli.
Of course.
So
As you should, to be honest.
as a good parent should.
Exactly.
When they give you the baby, they give you the Studio Ghibli box set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have two daughters, And most of our friends, they say like, let's watch Disney. I'm like, I'm sorry, they're gonna watch Ghibli.
Always,
Absolutely, I
always,
completely agree.
always. So then I find out that when One Piece came up, which I'm not so aware of the manga,
Hmm.
was my son had read it all in lockdown on his own. Read all
Hmm.
so he's reads manga. I mean I pay for Shonen Jump for him, so now I read it too.
Good job, good job. I think that it's important because the question has a follow-up now that I think about it. It's really important to have, if you want to do an adaptation, a live show adaptation, you need somebody that also doesn't, pour himself fully inside the world, because that's what I'm saying. You can get into the campiness of it and make it become, it's already a silly show. So if you're not careful, you get over that boundary that tells you, okay, it's a silly show, but the themes are very, very, very solid.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it, because I think most people that like the manga and the anime, they go there for the themes, because it has a very healthy backbone,
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
values.
Yeah,
So
follow your dreams. You know,
that
be
go.
good to people, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's always this. It's gonna be okay if you trust the process. It's gonna be okay. Just be a nice person, be a good person, and everything will work out in the end. So I think the fact that you didn't get a contact in terms of being an otaku, like an anime head, basically, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
How did you find it though? How did you find it when you finally went through it? How did you get your head around it? Because I'm curious about that.
I mean, it's I think
There has to be
when I,
there has to have been a moment where you were like, I don't think this is gonna work. And then,
I think initially you think, oh my lord, this is huge. This is really,
hmm,
really big. This is the big because it is the biggest show I've ever directed.
yes.
And also there's this sense when we'll go to Cape Town Film Studios and you drive up and you can see the ship from the highway. So you
Hmm.
see these enormous, you see the Baratier from the
Hmm.
N2,
Hmm.
and that's kind of, oh my god, it's life size. And then see, there's a bar out the back of this ship. It's got this pink text, and then you've got the Going Merry and incredible sets. But then immediately, it's kind of like being a child yourself again. You walk into those sets and it's real, and
Hmm.
it's almost like you're dreaming. It's so magical being on those sets, and obviously there's the pressure of shooting and everything. But I think you have to always remember to have that spirit of play.
Hmm.
'Cause
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
really
I
lucky.
understand.
We're being paid to tell stories. It doesn't get better than that in my
Yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah. I understand. I understand the perspective. Yeah. Were you guys consulted about how much how much should be built and how much would be just blue screen? Did they ask you anything about it, or did they just go through it?
I
Yeah.
think I think that always it's it's the, we. Sorry, I'm stuttering.
Yeah,
We
go for it.
build as much as we can.
Uh-huh.
Because we have this amazing set designer, Richard Bridgeland, and he's got the skills, and we've got carpenters, and so it's great for actors if they are in the space. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to act in
Mm-hmm.
if you can see
Mm-hmm.
it. But there are certain things like the sea that we just
You just can't do it. Exactly.
can't do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And we do have on set all the time amazing VFX people there as well who are
It's
getting.
fantastic the way, because of course, you can see when there's not always, but you can see when there's VFX and when there's no VFX, of course. But you can see that there's so much physical set piece, this built set. Just it's not just the boats. You get to the villages and you get to all the villas, and when you realize, like, dude, they could have done everything with green screen, or
Yeah,
maybe use the volume or some other stuff.
yeah,
But they chose not to. And again, if you are if you know a little bit, just a little bit about movie production, and if you know a little bit about the manga and the themes and everything, and if you watch the show, you realize, dude, this is amazing. That's why I'm trying to convey to the public as well, those people that might not, understand the entirety of the process. You have to understand that the point of the show is not to change the manga, is to inspire the manga afterwards, to inspire you to read the manga afterwards, you know? So it's going to be different pieces, and it's going to be different things, scenes even, you know, dialogue pieces, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah, there's always going to be an element of adaptation. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, your point about the sets, you know, when I visited Cocoa Village and Windmill Village. I mean, they are amazing. You know, you just think anybody would like to play, and then have a go and have a walk around. But like, for example, in Kaya's bedroom in Maya,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there are drawings on the walls that the art department have done of Usopp, the actor in character in Usopp, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
painting of Mary. And if you open the drawers, there's stuff inside the drawers.
I
So
agree.
it's
I agree.
just, you know,
It's
these
mental to have it. Yes, it's very, and the amount of work and detail that goes into it, like, again, it demands your respect at the end of the day, you know. One more thing, because I know I have to finish. Um of all the questions you will get today and you have had until now, and the ones I asked and so on, is there a question that people should ask and they don't? You know, is there something that you would like? Because usually there's something I would like to say about this, but nobody asks that question, so I never get to say what I want to say. The one snippet thing. Tell me the one thing that people should know. Maybe you don't have it. You're not, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe there's something that people should know and they don't know, and it's such an important thing, you know. Like for me, the production quality always tells me if the show is worth my time. Because when you go through it and you see, like, dude, this guy, again, I was on the Witcher set, for example, and you go through them and you see all the amount of minutia, the little things, you know,
yeah,
and the fact that there's a book entirely printed with a fake language, page by page, and so on and so on, and they repeat every 50 pages, not every third page, you know, and you
yeah.
see, like, you're like, did somebody spend hours and hours and upon hours and upon hours and upon hours? So if that guy, he got paid, of course, but if he could spend half a month on this, I can spend 6 hours on this. It's
Yeah.
fine, you know. So tell me your
Well, I think probably the biggest thing for me is it is the crew. It's those people who make those things happen. It's from the runners who get up at like 3:30 sometimes, and then they get people to set, and then they work all day, and then they go home and they eat out of a fridge, and then they fall asleep. People work so hard. They do such long hours.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and the quality, like you said, the quality of work is amazing. You've got this, we are nothing without the crews. So we, the actors and the directors, we go on and we sprinkle like the hundreds and thousands on the top of a cake, but the cake is made by so much talent. And when you're on something that size, you see them and you don't even get to meet and talk to half. There's too many people to know all their names.
Yeah.
They put in a lot of work. And the other thing that I do want to say,
Mm-hmm.
wonderful thing that Film Africa does in Cape Town is that they try to be as green as they can on sets for climate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
there are no plastic bottles on sets. There's a vegetarian day every week. And they recycle everything, all those props, anything that's excess is recycled, so that Film Africa are actually building a nursery in the township with breeze blocks made from stuff that's been thrown away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important in times like these, that
It
we
is.
try
It
to
is.
be
It is.
as green as we can.
Okay. Thank you, Emma. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll have nice interviews today.
Thank you
And
very much.
I hope everybody will love the show. Thank you again. Charlotte, you can cut me off. Where are you, Charlotte?
Thank you very much. Thanks.
First of all, so hello, Mark. First of all, because people don't know we chatted for 2 minutes.
Hey, Marius. Great to see you, man.
Great to see you as well. I was looking at your how do you call it, your spreadsheet, you know, when you see how many
CV.
things, your CV, yeah, how many things the guy has done, and you've been working so much. You've done so many of my, I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, you can tell by the everything I have here. So you worked on a lot of stuff. Are you like a go-to director or something for Netflix? Like, do they always consider you like, we have a project, let's go to Mark, let's talk to him, you know?
I don't think so.
Oh.
But that having been said, you know, we you know, over the years, you know, the film business is built on trust.
Mhm.
You know, it takes a lot to make a movie, and the more you can work with people that you've worked with before, that you trust, that that deliver, and that and that surprise you. It means that you have a great relationship, and that's sort of what's happened over the years with Netflix. I started on Daredevil was my first show for Netflix. And we did the big, rooftop scene for New York's Finest, which was between the Punisher and Daredevil, and the big stairwell fight that became so notorious. And from that, we pushed the boundaries on that show, and we built up a lot of trust. And then I went on and did Luke Cage, and then the Punisher, and then they brought me into The Witcher.
Big film as well.
Yeah, which was a big show as well. And, I think when you share some sweat together and the result of it is good and satisfying and delivers, then that really helps in terms of trust.
Yeah.
And so when One Piece came along, which is, as you know, such a huge show, it felt like over the years we had covered some ground together, and it was that we could work really well in delivering it.
I saw you were a producer on all 8 of the episodes. You directed the first 2, which, by the way, I thought, because I talked to Emma as well, Emma Sullivan, 3 days ago, and I asked her who directed the first 2, because the first one for me, I don't know if it is the best of the show in my opinion. Just because I'm not complimenting you just because I'm talking to you. It's just that the show has. Being an anime adaptation, it runs the danger of being too campy for some people or something for some people. So the first show is the one that will hook you or not hook you. And the fact that, first of all, the casting is absolutely amazing. I think that everybody just did a phenomenal job. Like, there's so many times where it goes into camp, but because they are acting so well and they stay so well in character, you get into the anime. You don't get into the show. It feels natural. It feels like it belongs there. So 2 questions here. First of all, how did you get into producing, and was it a hard job? And second of all, who handled the casting? Because the casting was done so well, and I think you either were super lucky or you worked a lot on it. There's 2 options here.
A big shout out to our casting directors, Libby Goldstein and Junie Lowry, Lara Johnson. I'm so glad to hear you say that, Marius, about the pilot, because it is the most difficult of all the episodes to pull off, both in terms of, tonally, getting the tone right, getting all those special things that people love about the manga right, and most importantly for me as a director who comes from theatre, believing the characters. The big mistake would have been to try to translate those 2-dimensional characters onto the screen as 2-dimensional characters. You can't do that, and nor was I interested in doing that. We talked a lot about why do a live action version of an incredibly successful manga and a much watched anime. Why do it?
Exactly.
And to me, we had to feel that we were adding something to it, not just replicating it. So when you realize what it is that you think you can add to it, it gives you a massive purpose and a massive, what I call the true north, where we're trying to get to. What is it that we're trying to say with this show? And it felt to me that, what we do when we go into live action is we dimensionalize the characters. We give them human traits. We give them an emotional life. We give them a backstory. And that backstory informs who they are. And that grounds the world into something that we as an audience can relate to.
True.
I can't relate to a 2-dimensional character that can do rubbery stuff. That doesn't mean anything to me. But I can relate to a character who feels he's never known his mum. He's been abandoned by his dad. He's bullied by his grandpa. And he meets this guy, Shanks, who cares for him, who listens to him, who looks after him, who even goes after him to save him from a big monster, and then sacrifices his arm for him. What does that do to a person? Well, that's what happens to Luffy.
Yeah.
Or what happens with Zoro when, you know, he wants to be, he's trained as a swordsman, and his very best rival, the person he loves most, Kuina, dies, and to honor that, he wants to be everything that he knew that she would become, the best swordsman in the world. So once you start to get into the truth of character, and you direct from that, and by the way, Steve and Matt's scripts already gave me so much from just the way that they drew these characters.
It was actually a very good adaptation. I never felt like, I mean, it felt more than enough of the anime, more than enough of the manga. You know, you never feel like, man, they're just like, it's not the true thing. They changed everything up. No. It's actually very genuine. It's genuinely in love with the manga. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing to hear. You know, Matt Owens, of course, is, you know, a super fan of One Piece. He knows everything there is to know about One Piece. And of course, we had, you know, Oda's door open for us to go and, you know, check things out with him, talk to him about it, make sure for him to be able to see everything that we were doing and make sure that we were on track and to adjust if we needed to adjust. You know, that dynamic between us was super important because
it is.
You know, we wanted to honor this great work, you know, and we wanted to honor the fans who love it and for whom it means so much. You know, when we were casting this show, we did a big global search for these actors. So many would come in and say, you know, this has seen them through some really dark times. And you know, as a director, when you take on board that's, you know, what keeps you up at night is not the fear of the scale and the size of it all, is wanting to honor that.
If the people will appreciate the work, basically, and the amount of passion that goes into it. And it's true, the manga, because it has such I was talking with them as well, it has such healthy themes, you know, the friendship, camaraderie, being honest, being true to yourself, being a good person overall, and all those themes, you know, they genuinely, I think that, and being such a long-running show, it's impossible not to touch people. There's so many kids that grew up on this, and without wanting it, you know, you watch it and you adopt certain beliefs and certain values that you see in these characters you love. And again, the show manages to relate that really, really well. And if people, because some people might be like, I don't know if I wanted to, you answered the question already, basically. Did we need a live action One Piece? And once you watch it, you realize it adds, as you said, it adds to the universe. It doesn't take away, and it doesn't change the fact that you like the anime and now you like this. And the main actor, I don't want to butcher his name, he's doing a phenomenal job. He's like, so many times he saves not saves because it's improperly said. When you look at him, it's like he's Luffy. He is Luffy. You know, you see him and you believe him 100%. So I want to ask you two more things. First is, why did you build so much? Like everybody else who goes and does green screen, blue screen stages and everything else, and you guys just went to town there. You actually went to town. You built everything basically. Why did you do it?
Because
I liked it. I want to understand why you want to work more, basically, you know?
Well, you can't do certain things in green screen. You know, you can't get, you know, when an actor walks into a room which is just full of green screens and haven't got a clue really what they're walking into, you know, you can do some of that. And of course we did. But to get that grounded feel, you know, One Piece in many ways is like a travel show. There's no precinct. There's no one place where we go back to time and time again. Maybe the boat, but the boat is only a vehicle to take you to another world. So it was really important to me, and it was really important to the production designer, Richard Bridgeland, and the cinematographer, Nicole Whitaker, that the worlds that we went into felt real, grounded. So we did a lot of research into other worlds of our world. Jimmy Nelson is a photographer who wrote a really, who went around the world photographing ancient tribes that still exist. And we looked at a lot of those photographs. What is it that makes the world in Chad feel different to the world in Bhutan,
Interesting.
for example?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that makes the tribes of Mongolia feel very different to the Aztecs in Mexico?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we tried, not that we tried to sort of build those worlds, but we were looking at what is it that makes them feel like they have a history, like they've been there
Genuine.
forever, that they have an ancestry and stories. And how do we create that in one piece? So that when they go to Shellstown, Shellstown feels like it's existed forever. And when we go to Orangetown, Orangetown feels like it's been there forever, or whatever it is, you know. And that's partly about the sets that you build. That's partly why we built the sets as we did. And it's partly about the props. So Egbert, who is this kind of brilliant prop master who would build these sets, and sometimes we would walk around these sets and I'd pick up an object and I'd say, why is this object here? What's the story behind this object? Because I wanted everything to have a reason, to have a
Makes sense.
story.
Yeah.
Oh, well, a grandmother, she bought that when she went over to such and such.
And are
or
you
whatever it
doing? Is he doing anything with this information?
No.
Are you? Why not? You should do like an extensive material, something that you can publish afterwards. You know, 20 years from now,
Yeah.
people might
Yeah,
love that.
maybe you're right. Yeah. Well, maybe we should do that. You know, it's a great idea because so much, I can't tell you how much thought went into those sets and every object that was in those sets needing to have a reason. And then also, Marius, you know, I loved, and Richard loved as well, the designer. You know, we went back to Buster Keaton, we went back to Charlie Chaplin, we went back to all those kind of great shows where they did everything in camera. And I wanted to do as much as we possibly could in camera, you know, partly because it means that we can control the look of it and we don't hand it over to somebody somewhere, you know, in Nepal or in India or whatever it is who are doing their version of things. We wanted it to be our version, to keep the show as truthful to the vision that we had for it. So that's a long answer to your question, I think.
Good job. One more thing I want to ask you, and this is the last question. I know I don't have time anymore. It's basically, I asked Emma the same thing, and I'm 40 years old, and I grew up on all this, you know, and I always ask myself, you know, like, how do people relate to this type of creation, storytelling, you know, the mangas and the animes, when they don't come from this necessarily, you know? What do they love, and what do they feel like maybe this isn't the right thing for me? How did you feel about the going into the anime, you know?
Well, you know, I go back into the very basics of why I come into storytelling, which is, you know, I love character. I think we tell stories ultimately to learn how to become human. And, you know, if you can take a character and you put an obstacle in front of the character and you see how they overcome those obstacles, that's what life's about.
True.
That's how we live our lives, you know, and we learn from real life, we learn from our friends, but we also learn from story. And the reason why I really wanted to do this show is because it's sunny, it's blue skies, it's a wonderful adventure, it's optimistic, and it's full of hope. And at its center, you have a character who wants you to believe in yourself and wants you to believe in your dreams and to love your friends and to be loyal to your friends and to stand up for what you believe in, for what is right. And that's in this manga. And it felt to me that that's the story of everybody. We all want to believe in ourselves. And if we can create a live action version of this show that brings in everybody, the entire audience, and encourages them to come onto this adventure with these crazy characters, with a message of saying, be who you are, follow your dreams, then I think that's worthwhile. And that's a story that everybody in the world will recognize and resonate with.
Thank you, Mr. Mark, Mr. Jobs. Thank you very much for doing good for the show. Thank you for having the balls and the courage to do it. Because again, most people and fans can be a bit, tricky when they see adaptations of what they love. But I think if people watch it with an open heart, and if they just give it 5 seconds, they will understand that you can see the passion in it. I maybe it's just me, but I can see the passion in it.
Well, I thank you for saying that, and I really hope that the love that I hope you might feel for these characters in the live action will give you greater pleasure watching the anime and greater pleasure reading the manga, because you've now filled in their emotional life and you bring that.
Yeah, and I always said that One Piece is one of those shows where the world is a character, and it's one of the best. That's why it's one of the best shows. Like Bleach as well, Inuyasha as well. It is character centric, but it's also the world is a central character. You discover so much about it. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for
Matt, great to chat to you.
For your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you'll have nice chats from now on. Have a nice day.
Lovely to chat to you. Take care, man.
Sper că v-au plăcut interviurile, sper că a fost interesant, sper că v-am convins să încercați One Piece, nu trebuie să vă placă. Spuneți-mi în comentarii dacă v-a plăcut, ce v-a plăcut, dacă nu v-a plăcut, ce nu v-a plăcut. Și evident, dragii mei, vă mulțumesc, le mulțumesc celor pe Patreon, cer în comentarii încă ceva. Fără de voi, ce va fi absolut imposibil și până la viitoare, nu rămâne decât să vă urez viziunea plăcută, numai bine, paftă!